I'm joined now by a Canadian national, a self-described Indian born in Pakistan. He's the founder of the Muslim Canadian Congress. He's also a columnist with the Toronto Sun, and I have to say I'm quite honored to call him my friend as well. Tarek Fatah, the man, the myth, and the legend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good to hear your voice.
Well, I'm happy to see that your head's still attached to your neck and shoulders over there. I have to share a little bit of a story with the audience. I remember back in the Sun News days, I was walking from one studio to another, and we were walking outside together, and I said, Tarek, you have so many fatwas on your head. Should I be concerned while I'm walking beside you? And you raised up your cane, and you said, don't worry, I'll get the Islamists off of you with my cane. And we joked about it. But now I'm worried. You're joining me from Delhi, India right now, and things are a little bit different. Now there's a $15,000 bounty on your head. They've issued a fatwa calling you a kafir. Tell me about how you got into this spot right now, Tarek.
Well, I didn't come to India to get into the television show that I'm hosting here. I was here to write a book for Penguin on Balochistan, where there's a civil war going on. And I was a regular guest on Z News, even while I was in Toronto. But they approached me and said, we don't seem to have a clear understanding in India among the non-Muslim majority community of primarily 80% of the population is Hindu, as to what are the issues within the Muslim community.
Right.
As soon as we raise an issue, we are always slapped with the label that you're racist or quote-unquote Islamophobic, which the word is now used in India as well. So we decided that I'd host a show in which the guests would be primarily Muslims, Muslim clerics, professionals, etc., architects or singers. And that started off on a good footing. But the moment we raised these issues, the clerics would get furious. In one episode, a mullah grabbed my stick and wanted to attack a woman who was quite vocal about the separation of Islam and mosque. In another episode, they threatened to attack me on the show.
Unbelievable. So you just to set things up for folks. So you have a show right now called Fatah's Fatwa, and in it you're discussing issues like child marriage, how you see that the burqa is not necessary for faithful Muslim women. You're a moderate Muslim yourself.
Anything that comes, whether it's international banking, whether it is how the Saudis charge for Hajj, or why are Gulf Arabs coming to India to buy women, quote unquote, and I'm using the word renting out Muslim women for a week or two, plus political issues that are here in terms of education or Muslim family law. And what happened is that for 70 years, no one in India has ever has ever asked anyone except the clerics what they think. And all of a sudden, here there were men and women, poets and writers and NGO directors having a say. And the mullahs got furious, and they threatened on my show that as of today, this will be the last show. They went to the High Court in Delhi, they went to the Election Commission, they've gone all over the place.
So how are they greeted by, though, India's the largest democracy on the face of the planet. How are these clerics who are saying that this is your last show, how are they met by Indian officials?
What can I say? You know how it is in Canada or even the United States. Anytime one of my co-religionists stands up and says, I'm aggrieved, people don't have the courage to stand up and call their bluff. And so the courts basically shrugged it off. They didn't say anything. The television network said, please, excuse us, we're doing some serious work. And the more they got rebuffed or rejected, the more furious they became, till they slapped a bounty on my head for $1 million rupees. And then on the owner of the network, Dr. Subhash Chandra, was a frequent visitor to Canada as well. The Z News is watched widely in North America. And the network said you can go to, hell for what we care. We're going to do this show. And then they said it's against Islam. But the fact is, everyone in the audience is Muslim. So
you yourself are Muslim. You're a self-described moderate Muslim.
It's no non-Muslim there. But they tried to then threaten me. One guy came on the show and said, "You will soon have your head cut off." And then he chuckled and left.
That's terrifying. And now, before we get into the politics, I want to ask you, are you traveling with an entourage? Do you have security around you? Are you basically under house arrest, or are you still going to and fro the dilly huts, the markets over there?
Well, there are two things, and they overlap each other. One is that the program is, the show is seen by 100 million people every week. And in all modesty, my name has become a household name, and it's one of the most watched shows in India. So if I go a step outside, I'm usually mobbed by quote-unquote fans. I feel very embarrassed about it. But now I've been told by people who are my well-wishers not to step out of the hotel, stay in my room. So I haven't ventured out unless I go to a TV studio. And the latest thing is, because the television studios are in the next province, the adjoining state, where we fear that the cops might arrest me and charge me simply because in the last days of the election, the ruling party could say, "Hey, we're tough on people who are against Islam." So I'm not even able to go there.
Unbelievable.
I'm quite happy. I'm going on a trip to Thailand to have a break, and then let's see when I come back what happens.
That's what I love about you, Tarek. You go right back into the lion's den. You're totally unafraid. But I think it's worth mentioning.
67. What am I afraid of?
You can see why I love the man, okay? I like you because you're a you-know-what disturber. You don't mind. You just tell it like it is. And whether you agree or disagree with you, you're having a conversation that's necessary in so many parts of the world.
Let me clarify, Faith. 2 years ago, or was it 3, I appeared before the Senate Committee on Security.
That's right.
And I told the Canadian senators what is at stake.
Yeah, no, and I want to pick up on that, because right now we're having a national conversation about Islamophobia. We have a federal government who is introducing a motion, M103, to quote unquote take a whole of government approach to eliminating Islamophobia. We have a province, I'm in Ontario right now, that has just unanimously passed an anti-Islamophobia motion that equates Islamophobia with race and says that they want to condemn anti-Muslim sentiments, thought crimes. I think it's worth pointing out, Tarek, that you're not holed up in your hotel right now because of Islamophobia. You're holed up in your hotel right now because of fundamentalists Islam that says that thou shalt not offend the Prophet.
I label it correctly. It's Islamofascism.
It's Islamofascism.
It's a fascist view that it utilizes Islam to silence its opponents. So it's not new in India for people to be beheaded, or it's not new in Canada. And by the way, the lawyer leading the charge and most vocal about this Islamophobia racket that has come run around by the Pakistani-born MP from Mississauga, who has very close ties to the Pakistani High Commission.
That's right. She met with them before
let me tell you,
introducing this motion.
That's an Indian Canadian.
So I want to ask you, because you say that there are certain parts of Islamofascism that are commonplace in India, despite the fact that they are an ally, they are the largest democracy in the world. This is not commonplace in Canada. We condemn so-called honor killings, of which there have been high-profile cases in this country. We condemn Islamic terrorist attacks, of which there have been 2 in recent years, both of which took men in uniform. So when you see the introduction of Islamofascism, by your definition, the use of Islam to shut people up, when you see this being introduced into the country where you came to get away from this stuff, where I know you have a family living, what are your thoughts on it, and what's going to be the effect on moderate Muslims like yourself?
we can't just blame it on the current crop of jihadis. The world has been asleep and catering to men in Saudi frocks and long beards and mustacheless appearances, and cater to them from the time of Jawaharlal Nehru to Pierre Trudeau, who were good friends. The essence is that in India today, girls are being bought by Arab sheikhs. Child marriage is common. In the south of India, where for hundreds of years no Muslim woman ever wore a burqa, today it's ubiquitous. Day before yesterday, there was a demonstration of about 1,000 women in Deoband, which is a predominantly Muslim area, and they all lined up like robots. You've seen the video. You might find it on my Facebook page. They didn't move. They were all draped in black, something you could never have seen just 50 years ago. And they stood there, and a mullah looked over them from a balcony, and then he used a dog whistle to tell them to start. And they started moving. The hold of the cleric on the ordinary Muslim is so severe that 12th century Europe seems to be a liberated place compared to what's happening in the deep pockets of Indian Muslim society. This, by the way, doesn't happen even in Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Afghanistan. This is happening in the world's largest democracy.
Tarek, what I'm concerned about is Muslim the fact that we're now opening up the gates for I don't want to say for that to happen in Canada, but that we won't be able to talk about that happening anywhere in the world. If you could send a message to our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who was rallying around this motion, this is in effect the Prime Minister's office motion. He's owning this completely. If you could send a message not only to our Prime Minister, who's about to lead us down the slippery slope of jihad creep against our most fundamental and precious freedom of the freedom of speech, send a message to him, as well as all of his allies in Canadian mainstream media who says, so what if it's sloppily worded? So what? This is the new age of tolerance. Get with it, you knuckle draggers. What's your message as someone who has lived and visited Islamo-fascist states from the time that you were a young boy? What's your message to them about the dark reality that they are starting to usher into not just our legislatures, but across this entire country from coast to coast to coast?
My message to not just Prime Minister Trudeau, but to the vast network of upper middle class, pompous, white, guilt-ridden, liberal journalists and the intelligentsia is that you folks know that you won't be the victims of fascism. And you are cowards because you know it was Hitler who got you. But in this case, because you are guaranteed that your allies in the Islamist movement won't kill you, they'd kill me. They are the ones who'd kill Dr. Zuda Jasir or the Farzana Hassan, or the millions of Muslims who wish to enter the 21st century. Trudeau and his allies, not the political party. I can tell you there are people in the NDP more vicious and more guilt-ridden than the Liberals. There are some conservatives as well. But they know they will not be hurt. But because the people who will get killed and hurt and stifled are people that look like me. So Mr. Trudeau and his gang are practicing racism in reverse. You know, this is a racism of lowered expectations, where it says, well, we are civilized people and we can live with it. But you guys, you Muslims over there, you've not yet fully developed. So we will bend our rules to make you, behave in a way till in a few centuries you come up to our level. It is astonishing, it is despicable what is happening by non-Muslims, guilt-ridden white liberals using Islam to gain an entry into the Muslim vote banks that is so prevalent in India and a number of other countries. People cater to the worst level of the Muslim. They never deal with someone who says, I am Canadian first. They deal with people who celebrate the elections either who were born in Saudi Arabia, born in Pakistan, born in Iran. Look at the people supporting this. Why did the Canadian MPs in the Liberal caucus go to the Pakistan High Commission before they introduced this motion? What is the link between the ISI, the Pakistan military intelligence that runs ISIS, and the Canadian Muslim MPs?
It's a valid question, and it's an important question when we see the MP who introduced this motion being photographed with all of these high-ranking officials within Pakistan government and their offshoots and representatives over here in the country. Final question. How is your message right now that you've just communicated with me over these past several minutes being received, not just by white liberals in the West, but by your co-religionists? And I'm not talking about the ones who want to cut off your heads. I'm talking about the ones in the West. How do they treat you?
They're scared. Who wants to be on the wrong side of the mullah? You have to understand what the clerics are in charge of. They came on my show and boasted that we control the lives of Muslims from their birth to their death. A Muslim can't be born and have a name till a mullah sort of, for lack of a better word, christens him by reading the call to prayer in his ear.
Definitely not the right word.
His name, the marriage can't take place. Even the graveyards of Muslims, the people who created the Taj Mahal, in Canada, you cannot have a tombstone. The Saudi-funded mullahs have made sure that Muslims cannot have a tombstone anywhere across Canada. Will Mr. Trudeau correct that? We
Yeah,
who
right.
made the Taj Mahal
He visits the
in Canada
Wahhabi mosques.
have a graveyard.
He's not interested in reform. Our Prime Minister goes to the Wahhabi-funded mosques in this country. Wahhabi-funded mosques, some of which, have recently, within the past month, been found to be basically chanting and making supplications for the murder of Jews. Within Canada, this is happening, and we're told that we're not allowed to talk about it. Tarek Fatah, you're a hero. I wish that more of your co-religionists would speak up. I don't know if you can reform Islam. I think that's a really tall order, but I think you can at least start talking about it, and there are no more poignant speakers than those from within the religion because they know more than any of us. If you like what you just heard and you want to stand with Tarek, I urge you to use the hashtag #StandWithTarek. Tell folks where they can find you on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
It's Tarek Fatah.
Tarek Fatah.
Tarekfatah.
Okay.
Tarek Fatah.
Tarek, please, head attached to the neck. Will you just stay safe, okay? Most importantly.
I
All right.
promise.
Thanks so much
I'll
for
be back
joining us.
soon.
All right, good. We'll hang out when you're back, and I'm sure you'll have some more stories. Thanks so much, Tarek. Like what you just saw, we talk a lot about free speech and Islam. Click below and subscribe to our YouTube channel.